Follow us on Facebook at Daunta A. Long. Follow us on Instagram at Daunta Long. Follow us on YouTube at Daunta A. Long. Thank you for tuning in to LongTalk.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. And happy Thursday to everyone. And trust everybody's been having a great week thus far as the week is coming to a close. And what better way to prepare for Friday than to have a wonderful Thursday evening long talk. And I am just so thankful each time that we have the opportunity to come and have meaningful dialogue and great discussion and pull around the table tonight and let's have our wonderful long talk on this evening. Well, tonight I am yours truly, Daunta Long, and as I always say, if this is your very first time watching, please take just a moment and follow me. Whether you're on Facebook, follow me, please, if you will. If you're on Instagram or perhaps even Twitter or also YouTube. But if you're on YouTube tonight, I need you to subscribe and hit the notification bell. So thankful for both our Facebook and YouTube audience. Hundreds of you tune in each time that we're on, which we're on every Tuesday evening and Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please, if you will, take just a moment and like and share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let everybody know that Long Talk is on the air. Okay, thank you so much for doing that. I sincerely appreciate it. I'm always fascinated. Even just the other day, we received so much correspondence from many of our viewers indicating as to how the conversation was meaningful and was both not only meaningful but informative. And that just speaks to the content in which we are privileged and we are afforded the opportunity to bring to our listening audience every Tuesday and Thursday evening. So always grateful, always thankful, and I appreciate all of you that are tuning in. Well, tonight is no different. We've got something that we want to talk about tonight, and I have been just receiving so many calls from a lot of my friends, a lot of my colleagues. Hey, man, what's going on in your world? Hey, how is it going? And as clergy and religious leaders, we've been in much dialogue about the pandemic, the crisis, the civil unrest, and all that goes along with it. Many of us have had to make many adjustments. Many of us are waiting for the next one to make the next move. And tonight, I've brought on our special guest who has been traveling the country, who's been doing webinars and seminars, who's been leading the conversation with helping small churches in particular. He's been leading the conversation in helping small churches in particular. And so tonight, if you're a pastor, stay tuned. If you know your pastor's telephone number, text him or text her and let them know that tonight's conversation is geared around church leaders and pastors in this time of crisis and pandemic. But tonight, our special guest is a senior statesman in the Lord's Church. He is the state bishop of the state of Georgia for the Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship International. Tonight, will you help me welcome my very special guest, the Bishop Lionel R. Catchings. Good evening, Bishop. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, Pastor Long. Great to be with you.
My goodness. How are you this evening, Bishop?
I'm doing very well. And yourself?
I'm doing just as well as can be expected, as the old folks would say.
I hear you, man.
As well as I can be expected. But Bishop, thank you so much for coming on tonight. And I know you're very busy. Anybody that's following you can see that you are engaged in so many different dialogues. Even I know you carved out this time, which is so precious because you just left one meeting and you're on your way to another one to continue this dialogue with helping pastors all over the country deal with where we are. But Bishop, there may be somebody tonight who is not quite familiar with who you are, even after that introduction. Quickly, would you tell them who you are and what you're doing?
Well, I am Bishop Lionel R, as Pastor Long has said. I'm a native of New Orleans, Louisiana, and I came to Atlanta, Georgia via Hurricane Katrina. So I've been here this year will make 15 years, September the 7th.
Wow.
I've been in Atlanta, and God has blessed me to pastor a wonderful church, Christ Temple Full Gospel Baptist Church in Fayetteville, Georgia. And then, of course, serving as the state bishop of Georgia for the Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship. Also working with, what else I do? So many things. With headquarters, our international headquarters office as chief of staff. And so, God has just blessed me to do many things. Finally completing my last semester at Liberty University for my doctorate of ministry. So, yes, God. So, that my focus there is my DM is at pastoral leadership, and my focus, actually, my dissertation is on pastor leadership and strategies for the small church in a multi-church context in the African American community.
Mm-hmm.
So they like titles and all that. So, they married, wonderful wife, Tamara Ketchens, 28 years. 2 sons, that is 5 grandchildren. Yeah, right at that. So yeah, God it's good.
Bishop, you're not old enough to have any grandchildren. What are you talking about?
Hey, 53, man. 53.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow. So granddaddy, daddy, husband, bishop, pastor, clinician, mentor, student,
yes,
and soon to be doctor.
Yes, sir.
That's a lot going on.
It's a whole lot going on.
That's a lot going on.
And a pandemic.
In the midst of
Yes,
a
sir.
pandemic. In the midst
sir.
of a pandemic. And so, man, again, thank you. Listen, we don't have a lot of time, so I just want to quickly dive in because
Sure.
I know quite a few people have contacted their pastor, and we got many preachers that are watching. I already
Great.
see many of the pastor friends of mine are on. Thank you so much, preachers. Please, preachers, go ahead and share this because Bishop is going to give out some meaningful information, and I want this to be a blessing to many of my colleagues. And so, please, if you're watching this, if you have not, if you're just joining us, and if you have been watching only for a few minutes, please call your pastor, text him, text her, let them know that we're having conversations geared around small church life, the life of the small church. Bishop, one of the things most people don't understand, because of television and because of internet, we see church and we think mega, right? Big buildings, particularly here in Atlanta, buildings galore, notable names. But the truth is, what we learned nearly 20 years ago through the study of George Barner was that the average, we're talking about the average, I hope nobody gets offended when I say this, the run of the mill, the actual average church that you see on the corner, around the corner, up the street, really only contains anywhere between 60 to 75 people on average, right?
And that has even dropped.
Uh-oh. What do you mean, Bishop?
Right before the pandemic, it was at 50.
50.
It was at 50.
Wow.
Yes.
And so these numbers are dropping because of maybe what I just said, maybe television, and because of the ready availability of church being made available on social media, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. And would you even attest this, Bishop, to just all-out apathy, people having a distrust or a dislike or a disdain for the church at this juncture in their life?
And then we have another thing at work too. We have another avenue we got to pursue, and that is we're looking at a generation of parents and grandparents who did not grow up in church. You got to think about that. People were grandparents at 35 and at 31. They didn't even have a foundation, you know? And so that's a whole generation that did not know our God or the God of Joseph. And so they grew up as latchkey kids, which started actually in my generation, but there was no parent in the home because father's not there, mother's not there. Nobody brought them to church. Grandmother don't even attend church, so they don't even go to church with grandmother. So we're dealing with that generation who don't even have a fundamental knowledge of the 66 books of the Bible. They don't. If you ask them what the Bible is, they can't explain that to you. They don't know the New Testament from the Old Testament, Old Testament from New Testament. So basic knowledge, because we've lost that in the home. When the home was fractured, the church was crushed.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I have for many years in and around Lent season, I normally walk up to parents and say, "Got your kids' Easter speech ready?" Just something, comical to say. And I thought it was, comical, but after talking to hundreds of persons, I realized, Daunta Long, that joke isn't even funny anymore.
No.
Because less than about, I'd say 1 or 2% were active church members of anybody's church, your church, my church, his church, her church, or even visiting, actively pursuing to belong to your church or my church, right?
Exactly. Because when I was a kid, I never forget, our church was one of the largest churches in the city. Mm-hmm. So we had Easter sunrise service at 3 o'clock in the morning. And to get there at 1:45 to get a seat. And at 3 o'clock, then all the kids had to get up and go sit on the steps up front, in front of the pulpit. So that's where the kids sat because they had no other seats for them. Mm-hmm. Now, and then after that, of course, Sunday school was the Easter egg hunt. Mm-hmm. And even talk about that because they don't know nothing about sunrise service. They know nothing about Easter egg hunt. They know nothing about the bonnets. They know nothing about the white dresses. None of those things that were accustomed to the church for Easter Sunday, they don't even know. They don't even know the hymns of Easter. Wow. So it's just amazing how church have changed in that short span of time.
Yeah, Bishop. My mind just runs back to 2018 when we launched our church plant on Easter. I'll never forget that date.
Wow.
April 30th, 2018. And that's when I started that joke. Come on to this brand new church and say your new Easter speech. And that morning, I think we were only privileged to get about 3 or 4 kids.
Yeah,
Shameless
because
plug.
people don't go to church on Easter Sunday like they used to. Listen, you had what I think it was called the CME, Christmas, Mother's Day, and Easter. But that's gone now. That day is gone. You no longer have a packed church. Those were great evangelistic Sundays.
Absolutely.
Oh, gone.
Now, fast forward all the way to where we are now.
Yes, sir.
And now we have been slapped right in the face with a pandemic that for most of us, somewhere around early part, mid part, or latter part of March, we closed our doors to our sanctuaries because we found it to be unsafe and many said unpractical for us to continue to gather those 50 persons or less. One person said, though, but if the church is so small, maybe 10 or 12, should we have even closed the doors in the first place? Because if our room was big enough, we could spread 10 or 12 people out, over 500 or 600 square feet.
Right.
But, that argument, started to fade away because, again, most of the people said, I don't care if it isn't but 10 or 12 of us. I ain't coming up there to church.
No.
And so it left all of us thinking, in the words of the great Dick Gregory, what must I do?
Yes, sir.
And for the first time, Bishop, on a Sunday morning, I was not putting on my dress pants, shirt, and tie. You didn't put that clerical cord, you don't have a cord, that clerical chain around your neck. How did it feel? How did it feel, Bishop? Be honest with us.
Well, honestly, here's the thing that I share with most people. I, as a child, my grandparents and my mother lived 2 streets apart.
Okay.
So I left home, I left school, right, as a student, in control of the day, having fun, walked into the grandparents' house as the favorite grandchild.
Mm-hmm.
Around the corner as an only child, but as a favorite grandchild, I didn't have to do anything. As an only child, I had to do everything. So I
Yeah.
had to
Yeah.
adapt. So at 4:30, while I'm at home, I'm getting ready for dinner because at 6 o'clock we're in choir rehearsal. So then I had to switch mentality. So the ability to adapt has always been good for me. So that's easy. The
Yeah.
problem is when you learn to adapt so much, every time you adapt to an environment, you lose an essence of who you are because you're never true to any environment because you're always being something, a piece of who you are. So the problem for me now is that I can adapt, but who am I now in this adaptation is the question that I had to fight. So the chain I can handle. Matter of fact, I didn't wear it every Sunday anyway. So do I miss not going to the building? Well, what happens with me is that we tape on Sundays, and I did do that intentionally because when we were taping on another day of the week, it didn't feel right.
Didn't feel right.
Into a day that feel right to me. So I moved to Sunday, and so me taping on Sunday, I feel like I'm at the church building on a Sunday. So I get what I need. Without that, that was the struggle for me, the day. And I know for some people say, well, that shouldn't have been a struggle. For me, that was a major struggle. So I had to transition it back to the day so I could feel like I was at church.
The old Daryl Coley song is so true. When Sunday comes.
When Sunday comes.
There's something about waking up on Sunday. I don't know what it is to wake up on Sunday morning, put on my ball cap like some of my friends and make my way. Bishop, can I be honest? I don't know what it is to tailgate on a Sunday. I know that Atlanta is a football city like New Orleans was, but that's not my story. And I'm sorry, I don't apologize. I just don't know what it is. On Sunday, in my early life, Mama cooked breakfast. When I got older, I stopped eating before. But I know what it is to put on my clothes. Back in the day, it was a 3-piece suit. Then I laxed to the open shirt. Then sometimes it's the T-shirt.
You're a church boy, man.
The attire has relaxed quite a bit, but I still enjoy opening the door at the church, turning on the heat, turning on the air, doing whatever is necessary. And so that whole Sunday essence. What other major adjustments have you had to make in the face of this pandemic?
Well, here's the thing that really slapped me in my face. To be honest, this slapped me harder than anything.
Lord.
I discovered that the people who I needed pre-pandemic was not the people who was functional for me in the pandemic.
What do you mean, Bishop?
And it happened because my best friend was also the lead deacon of my church, and so I saw that he was slacking, in the change, and I had the conversation with him, and he was like, "I just don't think this is for me." So I knew he wasn't talking about church, but the leadership role. He was like, "In this season of my life, this is just not where I am." Yeah. Now, as a best friend, I was slapped in the face. My lead deacon, who 2-in-1, I'm slapped in the face. So what do you do with that? I had to not become personal and become his pastor and hear his heart to say, this is just not where I am. What do? I make him bitter with the church, bitter with leadership, and use my friendship to force him into an area? No, I had to relax that and say, hey, man, I get it. This is just not your season for this area. So now that opened up the windows of my mind to ask others question, is it your season? Because pre-pandemic, I could move at 30 miles per hour. In the pandemic, I needed to be moving at 70 miles per hour because things were changing and happening too rapid. So I don't have time to wait on 3 meetings to get something done. And so I had to change staff and move people around. And it was hard because as a leader, you don't want to say to somebody, you really don't work in this season, but you have to. And that was the hard part because it just slapped me in the face that the people who I needed pre-pandemic was not the team I needed in a pandemic. Number one, I didn't need ushers. I didn't need deacons. There wasn't no offering to pick up. There was, you can't go visit the sick. You can call them, but you can't go visit them. So now I needed tech people. I need people who knew how to work a phone. I needed
Bishop.
Who could clean a building. I still needed them.
Yeah.
But if you were not tech savvy, you can't help me in this season. Now, administrative, yes. But even with that, if you're not a skilled administrative person, I still don't need you, because I need somebody who can take now our ministry and make administration virtual. We had to go to text to give. We were already doing Giveify. We had to add other stuff. We were without Cash App for a while. We had to add it. You cannot function as an any size church and not tech savvy today. So that's the hardest slap. And let me be honest. The first month, March and April, I struggled. And if you go back and look at some of the clips we had, you'll say that boy was struggling. I was the engineer. I was the pastor. I was the tech person. I was everything, because I was doing it from my house. I was going into the building. And finally, I had two of our younger members who, matter of fact, my best friend's kids, they were like, Dad, we love Bishop's preaching, but Sunday morning is awful. Now, here's the thing, Pastor Long. Either I could receive it or I could stay stuck. Because this 12 and 14-year-old who's telling me about broadcasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am a 52-year-old person. So what do? I look at them and say, y'all kids, you don't know what to talk about? Or do I receive it and become better? I brought them in. They helped out as long as they could. And then Pastor Ricky, my executive pastor, he came. He took courses. He paid out his pocket and took courses to learn how to make our church better. So if people are for you, they're going to do whatever they need to do to help you be better. So, yeah, I've been talking. Let me turn it back to you.
Bishop, when you talk about tech savvy, I thank God for my spiritual father who was preparing us a year in advance.
Wow.
And I know in his congregation, I'm not going to put all the business out in the street because I know he's watching. He's going to take my license. But let's just say there was some resistance. Why we spending so much money and concentrating on all them people out there in Facebook land and YouTube world when it's only 75 of us in here? It's almost like you could care less. I got accused by my own wife one time. She's watching. You know I'm telling the truth, honey. You look more into the camera than you do to the people in the pews. And that was an honest mistake that I was making. But now that I look at it in retrospect, because guess what some pastors have told me here recently, Bishop?
What's that?
I could preach to 1,000 people, but boy, I get the chills looking at a camera.
Well, so I had an advantage, right?
Okay.
Because in New Orleans, we were on TV.
Okay.
We had a broadcast, and matter of fact, it was Bishop Martin, Bishop Brister, and me. Mm-hmm. So I had good ratings just following them. Hey man, you got to ride the wave that's carrying you. And
what a wave! What a wave!
Ride the wave. So I was accustomed to preaching to a camera.
Sure.
So that's my advantage. So now that I have to do it now, it's not a problem. It's like just going back to being on TV. Okay.
And I'm thankful because years earlier, a very good friend of mine was helping me with software that I should purchase. Truthful, wow. I had purchased some software 4 years ago.
Really?
Never even opened the email to activate it.
No.
And when this pandemic hit, boy, that company, not gonna call their name because I don't want them to sue me. They took what used to be a software that was a one-time cost and put a monthly subscription on it.
Wow.
And boy, Bishop, that one night I said, the budget, oh my God, the budget. Man. And when I looked at the email and I couldn't get them on the phone because of COVID-19, it took them 9 days to respond to me. 9 days. I was so happy when they said to me, they said, Reverend Long, You are grandfathered in because of what you did in 2017.
Wow.
And you're talking about a blank stare that just went on my face, because I said we just went from paying a one-time cost of $27 to what some people right now are paying $30 and $45 a month for.
Wow.
And the second piece of that, Bishop, you don't know how many people have watched me and said, Long, they have what I like to call Nicodemus moments. and I want to say this. I'm one person in the Bible. I think one person I like to talk about in the Bible, Nicodemus. I think Nicodemus gets a bad rap, but I actually like Nicodemus. I find myself to be quite like him. Come here, let's talk. Come on. And I said, guys, if you don't understand how to work a computer, and then I said an encoder. Everybody, what's an encoder? What do you mean proper lights? What do you mean graphics? What do you mean intros? all of that. And guess what, Bishop? It's still a work in progress.
Right. Yeah, because even now what I have to do, I have to now put lights, like I'm at home right now, so I got to put lights in my house. Yeah. So that when I have these type calls, and even from my home, I can do it good from the church, but so that's another extension. You see what I'm saying? We're not just extending ourselves in the building, but even outside the building, we have to turn our homes. My church is now a studio. It's not a sanctuary, it's a studio. See what I'm saying? And that's because if you come there, I told my wife, make it laugh. My wife had not been to the building in about a month, right?
True.
And so she was coming. I was like, hey, did you let them know you was coming? Oh, for what? I got my seat. I said, no, the church you left is the studio you're coming to. The last time you came, it was a church. It was a sanctuary, but now it's a studio. So your seat is not your seat anymore. You have to know how many people are coming. We have to protect everybody. So everything has changed. And again, just like now, this has to have more, because I'm doing more interviews during the week. I'm not going to no building to do no interview.
Yeah.
But so back to your point, again, we're extending, and you are well ahead of the curve. Even talking with us about some things. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that the Lord told me when I started my small business back in 2007 with helping churches with finance, one of the things he impressed upon my heart when the pandemic was, my flesh was telling me, Long, this is another way to make great money. And it has been, but also the Lord said, help your brethren. After you've been converted, go back and strengthen. He brought me to that text to let me know you're not going to capitalize off of my people. Help. And the Lord will be a blessing. And the Lord has blessed me because everything that I've had to learn in this time of adjustment, people have not charged me for. And that's why I said, I'm telling people, this stuff costs money, the computers, the lights, the cameras, but I'm not going to gouge you by consultation fees and travel fees. I wish some of my buddies would write in the comments, Long, you telling the truth.
I'm glad you said that, because, when I first started, I must confess, I think budget first. I don't think need. I think budget first. So I was trying to.
Stop, Bishop. Stop 1 second. Why do you think budget first? Somebody needs to hear this answer. Why do you think budget first?
Here's why. Because number one, you have to have a place to stay. We teach our children, you need a place to stay. You're grown, you need your own place. Well, I have to think budget because the church needs its own house. We can't be going and renting off everybody else forever, and going to live with somebody. You need your own place, but that comes with a budget. You have to budget to have your own building. I don't care how small it is. You need your own. We tell our children, it's better to have one room place of your own than to be in a mansion with somebody else. But I feel that same way about the church. So now I have to have a budget to make sure I stay inside of it so I can stay in my own place. And so not only stand in the place, but then to make sure that we're able to have integrity, because you hire musicians and every week you're saying, Doc, I got to call you. We can't pay you. No, that's no integrity. You have to have a budget to know what you can afford and what you can't afford. My executive pastor called me. He was like, hey, can we add a bass guitar player? I said, give me time, because I could have at the time, but if I would have added him, I wasn't sure if in longevity I could sustain it. I waited till I made sure we could sustain it without begging the people based on what was already coming in. And so we were good. So, but I took me a month and a half before I said yes.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to make sure, and all that was because of the budget. The budget keeps you from looking crazy. The budget keeps you from being embarrassed. Know what you can afford, live within what your means. I'm not trying to be nobody else because I'm state bishop. I'm not trying to outdo Craig Oliver. I'm not trying to outdo William Murphy. God bless you. I do it on my level with what I can afford, and I'm good. I just get the best of my level, not the cheapest of my level.
Yeah, and just because, one of the things I said years ago, just because we're a small church, we don't have to look like it.
No.
And I think we can look better because our budget doesn't have to be as big, right?
Well, see, COVID-19 should have taught us something. See, big churches are laying off musicians. Small church can keep a musician. Big overhead. See, we don't have $30,000 note. We don't have a $15,000 note every month. So we're not still struggling to pay a note for a bill that we're not in. And see, with a larger church, the people hide. You know, you have 300, 500 people, they hide in there. Now, with a small church, we know who you are. We see you, Johnny. We see you, Susie. We know your children.
Bishop, don't you do that here tonight. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
So we can take advantage of that. This is, and it's not anything negative, but it's, if you're smaller, you have an advantage right now.
Yeah.
You take advantage of that you can make some moves because you're smaller. Here's the picture. The reason the Titanic crashed was because it was a big ocean liner going at super speed. And when they got to something unforeseeable because of the size and the speed, they couldn't turn fast enough.
Woo.
Because we're smaller, we can make a quicker turn and a quicker adjustment. And so we got to take advantage of that, because when you become an ocean liner in a pandemic, we're that same church.
My God. My God. Last part of this, and because I know you got to run, but you spoke to this just a moment ago, but the economics of it. Here's the big question. Are churches still paying mortgage and still paying rent for those that lease and for those that own, that have their own, or even sharing the space?
Yes, and I'm going to tell you why.
Say that again. What's the answer?
Yes.
For the people in the back. Say that one more time.
For all the way in the back, those who are outside on their way in the vestibule.
Uh-huh.
The answer is yes. Number
one.
Wow. First of all, you can, because we done took the government money. Let's not act like we haven't taken it. They offered it, we took it. And they gave you money to pay bills. They gave you money to pay salary. You know, and on top of that, here's the bigger thing, because we didn't dive right into that because the Lord didn't let me. But the main thing is integrity. Because, okay, if I'm a home, just say I own that building that you're leasing from, right? Well, if you don't pay me, how can I pay mine? See, we can't think in terms of, well, I'm just renting, so I don't have it. So, but the next person don't have it either. One hand does wash the other hand. Yeah. So we think as a homeowner and not a renter. Then that's the same thing as the bank. Well, if the bank don't get paid, then sooner or later they're going out of business. And your cousin who's a bank teller who just got hired 3 months ago will be the first one fired. Your good uncle who always helped pay your rent, who making 6 figures because he has that high income, will be the second one fired in the bank. So you have to think that one impacts the other. And you signed the contract.
Yeah.
You didn't sign the contract based on the pandemic. Maybe if we would practice with the church money what we do with our personal money and save something, when a pandemic comes, we can survive. But that's a whole nother question, because we don't prepare for storms. We don't prepare. What we do at our church, we save 10% of everything that comes in. So if we have to borrow, we borrow from ourselves.
Yeah.
We save 10% of everything coming, every dime. 10% goes directly to savings. So it builds up if you don't touch it. But if you trying to buy a Jaguar and you got 3 members, that's the problem. Okay. Now, if you have a job and you have other money, I'm not one who says the pastor takes a vow of poverty, because I'm not. What I am saying is whatever they pay you, whatever you do with it, it's fine. I have no issue with it.
Sure.
But you cannot take the money and be like some of these rap artists and get $500,000 or $80,000 or $200,000 of government money and go buy a car and think those people are not going to arrest you. You're going to jail.
Improper use of funds.
Yes, sir.
See you in 10 to 20. Yeah.
And that's another thing. Document. As small churches, sometimes we have to have proper records. That, you have bank statements that are coming in. They have to match. And they shouldn't be matching because you're trying to get government money. They should match because you have integrity.
Integrity.
Yeah. And so it takes money. All churches are not doing great. Again, because the bigger churches, people are hiding. And so those people are not giving. The smaller churches, I think there's a system because we see you, we know you. It's more what they're doing. And then there are churches who are large, who are thriving, who are doing great. But sure. Also, what we have to be mindful of, in this season, all your people may be employed, but one win, and you have nobody employed in your church. So you can't brag this month because you're doing great and putting down somebody else who's not. It's all because of just the favor and the hands of God on your life that he sustained you. And it's not because he favored you more than anybody else. It's just life. But that paradigm does shift. That seesaw does bounce. And we have to be prepared for it when it does.
Absolutely. So, Bishop, and I know we got to bring this thing to a close, but I'm hearing what you're saying about transparency and accountability for our economics and not biting off more than we can chew.
Right.
For the small pastor who is now beginning to see that he or she is having a greater impact, how should we look at that? And what I mean by that, here's my example. In the small church, we were averaging 25, 30, 45, 50 attendees. Now, as we stream, many of us on the platform of Facebooks, some on the platform of YouTube, some on the platform of Instagram, some on all of them, right? And you can begin to see numbers maybe 3 or 4 times larger. You're now having 200 to 300 people watch and share and maybe perhaps even give. How should we feel about this, Bishop? How should we feel about it?
Well, first of all, 2 things. There's a difference between swelling and growing.
Okay.
So I feel right now the social media, the virtual church has swelled. All they have is virtual church. There's no other option. But what happens when other options become available? Still be able to maintain. So don't allow the swelling of your numbers to make you think that you've grown. Then also, we have to keep in mind that they are somebody else's member. So to be evangelistic, and this is a pet peeve of mine, pastors, I'm sorry, I really get disturbed every week. I don't mind watching your broadcast because I go and watch broadcasts. Pastor, I watch yours. I watch several people's.
Thank you. Let's stop it. I just want to say thank you, Bishop. Thank you.
The only reason I don't comment because I don't want people to say, "Hey, Bishop, how you doing?" I didn't come on there to be seen. I came on there to encourage. I came on there to be fed, right? But we got to keep in mind that let me choose to come. Pastor to pastor, you inboxing me your 10 church services you have all week is a turnoff for me. I'm coming to you because I already know you have a word. I'm coming to you to check you out to see, number one, who can I invite to my church to preach? Because I get to hear people I never got to hear before. You know? So as a small church pastor, don't let the numbers mess you up, but also keep in mind that your number one audience is your church. Treat them like a visitor, because until they lock in, they're not locked in. And always remember this. In January, people left our churches with their feet. In July, about to be August, people are leaving with their fingers. They have left and joined somebody else's church, and you don't even know it. So we really don't know who is a part of our church until they're able to come back to the building. We honestly don't know. We think we know. Some people who had large churches are going to be surprised how empty their building is going to be. And yet some people who had large churches will grow. It all depends on how you are ministering in this season. And yourself. Be yourself. Don't let your size stop you or change you. I had stopped closing, and I had stopped the hooping. Like that wasn't needed. And I had members come in and say, I need my church experience back. If we were in the building, you would give me my church experience back. And I went to closing to get revenue.
Oh, Lord.
But you got to do what works for, and that's not for everybody.
Yeah.
You have to do what works for you. And so that's part of it. The main thing, continue to be yourself, but don't let the swelling of the numbers make you think that you're TD Jakes now. You're not TD, because it is great. When you have 100 times the people, when you average 25, now you have 300. That's great. But the next thing they got to get into analytics, because 200 views does not mean 200 people heard you.
Yeah.
200 people click you on. Now I know that's your specialty. So you got to learn the difference between a click on and people staying.
You're right. I didn't even want to get into that, but since you brought it up, something that the old folks taught us years ago: don't believe your own hype, right?
I don't believe it.
Yeah. I'm still reminded of the many days that I would go down to the building, clean the building, prepare the building. Sir. And
I still do.
Yeah. I mean, now that several hundred people watch, many more are giving and all that great stuff, I appreciate it. I'm thankful. But I do pray that when it is that the pandemic subsides, or hopefully is eventually over, and we are able to return back to public gatherings, that the Lord will increase our numbers. But if it does not happen, I'm not going to lose hope.
I will say this too, and
yes,
this is my last point, and you take a heavy one. We have to prepare and understand that the virtual church is here to stay.
It's here to stay.
Now, it's here to stay. Now, we're going to be doing hybrids, and we're still going to have brick and mortar. I'm not trying to make nobody feel we're not going to have brick and mortar. But if you think we're going to lose this, there are people, a vast amount, percentage, who's never going back to the building but to be buried.
What about to be married?
They don't have to go there and get married no more. They're getting married on the beach and everything. They've been getting married on the beach. They ain't looking for no church. People don't do church weddings like that no more. And matter of fact, I don't even do them, because you have to pay me $1,000 up front. And if you're on time, you get all your money back. But if you're not on time, then you start losing percentage based on your time. Because I know if you put $1,000 up front, I know you're going to be on time. So I don't keep the money. As long as you're on time, you get it back. Now, when you're 15 minutes late, you have lost half of it right there. At the other 15, at 30 minutes late, I'm leaving, and I paid an associate to marry you. I'm gone, because you cannot abuse my time. You don't do it to the justice of the peace. If they tell you to come to the court for 3 o'clock, don't be there. You miss your slot. When you're trying to catch an airplane, don't be there when they tell you it's time to load. You miss the plane. The church is the only place we allow people to misuse us in the name of God. No, thank you.
Yeah.
You get it back. I mean, you got to pay the deposit up front, but you get it all back if you're on time. Now, if you're not on time, thank you for the donation. Now, I think that's fair. You can get it all back, just be on time. If you can't be on time for $1,000, well, it wasn't important to you. And that's because I had somebody have me 2 hours late in a wedding. I said, never again.
Never again.
And I had to go preach after that. So when I got to preach, they were like literally waiting for me to get there. So I'm about to lose money for free. No.
Yeah.
Spirit of excellence.
So virtual is not going anywhere.
It's not. I think we have to really align that it's here to stay, because we were already transitioning there. My youngest son came to me in February. Matter of fact, no, I'm sorry. It was October. He said, Dad, why don't you just get rid of the building and just go all online? And I was like, boy, you crazy, black folk, ain't gonna let you do nothing like that. And look where we are today. I don't regret not giving up the building, but I'm saying, look what we are today. So I'm just saying, this is a part of life. This is a generation. These kids are not connecting. They connect by games, by video games. Yeah. Everything's a phone, So anything they're going to learn, they YouTube it. They Google it. So virtual church is here to stay. Now, at some point, America is going to have to refine whether virtual church is going to be 30-70 or 70-30, 30-70, 30 virtual, 70 brick and mortar, or 70 virtual and 30 brick and mortar. Because the more the new generations come in, the less they're attached to a building. They don't care nothing about no building. Those are the things we're facing in this season, man. Those are the things we have to really face, that church as we knew it is gone. That doesn't mean it can't be better, but we have to open our minds to what the new is. You know, that was the day. Just think about it. I know when I was a kid, I remember when they had when three-way first came out. You know, now, you know, I remember when you had to use a computer. You don't need a computer, you have a phone. You can email, do everything from your phone, run a company from your phone now. So life has changed, you know, life has changed. I remember the time you had to get the door. I had the iron door outside. You don't need no iron door. They'll put that lock on your door, and you can just put your thumb up there. I have a code. Me and my wife's best friends in New Orleans, I go to their house. I have the code. I don't have no key. I got a code. I get in the house through a code. So I'm just saying to you, life has changed, and the church cannot miss the shift. If we miss this shift, you're going to be empty, and your church is going to be a cemetery instead of a celebratory place.
Wow, I need a minute to digest that, because man, those are words that cringe in my ear. But
I'm screen weary, like you screen weary. But I'm not that screen weary that I don't want to do it. I tell you, I love it because everything is on demand.
yeah,
That Netflix put Blockbuster out of business. You can go on demand and watch everything. When the show The Queen, I watched a whole 10 episodes. I binge watched. People are going to binge watch our services. You may have 100 people watch you at one time, but by the end of the week, you got 1,500, 2,000, because they're going back. They're still being effective all week long. We have to make the adjustment. If life is changing and the world is changing, let's pay attention to the system. I'm not saying fall all into it, but don't be so blind and stuck into tradition that you don't want to put on a mask and you want people to come in there spitting and hollering and using the same mic and die of COVID-19. We got to, and even if COVID-19 is gone, the church was still shifting.
Yeah. Bishop, you got to come back, because
I'll be glad to, man.
There's so much
With
more.
better lighting.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, some extra lights will help, but I mean, you're good.
I'm gonna take care of that. Yeah, we're gonna have it next time.
Yeah, man. Bishop, I sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Because you have really helped me tonight. I got to deal with the unpleasant reality that as I knew it shall be no more.
No.
But it will be what I make of it.
You know, when they crossed the Red Sea, you know they didn't go back, right?
But you still had those people, Bishop, that I detest.
Yeah, I know.
At least back in Egypt, we had places to be memorialized at, graves to be buried in.
Yeah, that's why Joseph said take the bones with you. So take the memory with you. But it's over.
Oh my goodness.
But bless you, man. Thank you for this. You're doing an outstanding job. You're keeping information before the people, and that's what's important. People need information. So thank you for all that, your hard work and dedication to the kingdom.
Thank you, Bishop. Thank you so very much.
Yes, sir.
Enjoy the balance of the night.
Thank you, sir.
All right, take care. Be safe.
All right, thank you.
All right. Friends, tonight, what a great dialogue, a long talk that really shifted my life. I need a minute to get myself together, friends. After Bishop Ketchen said that what I knew and what I loved and what I appreciated will not necessarily disappear, but it will evolve. And guess what? It's already evolving, is something that I'm dealing with every day. To all of my pastor friends who are watching, who are out here, I just want to say to you tonight, and if you're one that still attends a small church, hey, listen, I salute you. And the reason why I salute you is because you could have said, now here's the pandemic, I'm done. I bow out gracefully. But for many, you've taken the time to do research. You've taken the time to call people and ask questions and go to classes and sit in on webinars and do whatever you had to do to expose yourself to make yourself better and to present what you're doing. And this is not only just for churches, even though this was our focus tonight. I'm challenging all of my small business owners. Social media has presented us with a great platform that you can even advertise your business. Do whatever you must do. And LongTalk tonight, I just want to say, I need to tell somebody, if not now, then when? Right? Make it happen now. Don't give up on your dream, even if it's small, even in its infancy stage. Please, ma'am, please, sir, get out. And what I mean by get out, come out of your comfort zone. Invest more, do more, see more, and try your very best to put your best foot forward if you can, all right? I want you to enjoy the rest of the balance of the week. Enjoy this wonderful weekend that's ahead. Next week, as we just dive into the month of August, we've got some great programming. Oh my God, I wish I could tell you right now of all of the guests that are going to be with us in the month of August, but we'll put some information out on social media to let you know of all of our special guests for the month of August. But before we get into August, please enjoy the rest of this week and this weekend. As I always say on many Thursdays, get the family together. Yes, we're still in a pandemic, so yeah, get the mask on the face. You heard it today. Maybe you even need to put a shield over. Maybe you need to protect the eyes. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but what I am saying is continue to create the memories. If the family needs to get together for a Zoom, hey, utilize that platform. Maybe it's Google Meets. Maybe it's WebEx. I don't know. You've got so many choices. If you need to, send us a message here at LongTalk. We'll help you through it. We're not charging anybody right now. But what we do want to do is make sure that we help you become as efficient as you possibly can. All right? So listen, continue to follow us. If you got questions, send them to us. Listen, we're in this thing together. We're surviving this pandemic, and everything's going to be all right. Okay? All right. We love you, and we thank you so much for watching. And hopefully, you will continue to make the best of whatever it is that you're facing, right? Because I want you to do what you must do to win. And it's no fun unless we all win, all right? So enjoy. We love you. We'll see you next Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. God bless you, and thank you so much for watching LongTalk.
Follow us on Facebook at Daunta A. Long. Follow us on Instagram at Daunta Long. Follow us on YouTube at Daunta A. Long. Thank you for tuning in to LongTalk.